I thought it was going to be some type of like queer romance.
Same.
So I was like, oh, they're finally going to make out. But no, it gets really weird.
When a nobody with an obsessive streak gets swept up into a somebody's entourage in the LA music scene, what happens? That's what the 2025 psychological drama thriller Lurker asks as it follows protagonist Matthew Morning's ascent from retail store worker to groupie/documentarian/possible real friend of pop musician Oliver. Matthew can't fall from such new heights and will stop anything that and anyone who threatens his place in the pecking order Oliver creates, even if that means sabotaging other members of the in-group, pushing charming, helpful interlopers, and secretly colluding to record his idol's tryst with some underage girls that Matthew himself orchestrated with some backstage passes. Obsession, male jealousy, queer desire, power plays as social currency, and an uncomfortable look at a relationship with fame all mark this film, which premiered at the Sundance Film Festival in 2025. Written and directed by the Bear alum Alex Russell, Lurker stars Theodore Pellerin and Archie Madekwe.
Hi, I'm Joe.
And I'm Allison.
And this is Queer Cinema Catchup, the podcast where we talk about movies, TV, and miscellaneous topics through a queer lens. And today we're talking about the movie Lurker.
That's right.
Where and when did you see it?
At the Chicago Critics Film Festival, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I was running late, and so I actually missed the first 5 minutes of the movie. Got my popcorn and this giant soda, of course, even though I was late. And I'm like trying to walk down the aisles, and I couldn't find my friend. And I see this man who has like his leg in the aisle. I'm like, that must be Will. Like he must be like alerting me. I go all the way down and I look at this person. I'm like, that's not Will. It's definitely not Will. So I kind of like walk back up this long aisle. Movie's playing in the background. I'm just like really on edge and very confused. I'm like texting him. I feel like really unsure about myself. He's like, I'm near the front, and it was him. So anyway, long story short, it took me a few minutes.
Wait, the man with the leg was Will?
Yeah. It was like so dark in there, and I just like was really afraid of like tapping this person on the shoulder during the movie
so
and
like
it
never
not
got,
being.
Oh god,
I mean, no, but I got so close. Like if this was Will, I was like here, and I was just like, no, that can't be him.
Breathing
on
his neck. You're like,
backed away.
Doesn't look like Will's neck.
And then I will tell you, I saw a lot of movies at this festival. Like I don't feel like it was very memorable. And honestly, it wasn't until I was preparing for this podcast that I kind of dove back into the plot and was like, actually, I did really like it.
Yeah, I saw it closer to like when it got its wide release. So then I actually did go to the movies to rewatch it this past week. So it's like more fresh in my mind. And I'm happy that I did because there were some things that I had forgotten about. But
yeah.
So if I talk about my emotional experience with this movie is I was so anxious.
Yeah.
Disturbed, disgusted in a way that it almost felt like the movie was like holding up a mirror as someone who works in entertainment. It just made me feel so upset with myself and really like made me think about some like the uglier side of seeking a career in entertainment.
Yeah.
It just made me feel so bad about myself.
You're nothing like the characters in this movie. Let's clarify.
Well, I know, but I had a negative reaction, but I kind of liked, I liked that it made me feel that way, if that makes sense.
It does. Do you have a, I liked this or I didn't like this reaction, like at the end of the day?
Yeah, I like this movie.
Okay. I think before I did the research on it, if you had just asked me that based on what I remembered, I would have said it was forgettable. And thus I was a nay. But now having dove back into it, I'm a yay.
Okay.
The whole time I was watching this film, a lot of articles I was reading was saying like, oh, Michael, what he's doing is very nefarious and manipulative on one level. But on another level, he does seem so innocent because he just seems to genuinely like want to be in Oliver's light. And he comes from his poor background, like he lives with his grandmother, you kind of, he's like a little bit of a pitiable figure. And so you're kind of you're supposed to be questioning in your mind, like how calculated is this really? Whereas I always thought he was being pretty calculated. I guess some people maybe didn't think that, but it made me think at the end, which I guess I'm going to jump to the end. It basically ends with them at a Q&A for the documentary that Michael's been making this whole time. And just for the audience's context, when Oliver ends up getting forced out of the group and is able to worm his way back in by, okay, there's a lot to say here. There's a lot. Do you want me just to quickly explain it?
Yes, please.
Matthew joins this house. He's jockeying for a secure position. His position doesn't feel very secure. He kind of gets a foothold by saying, I'll be the documentarian for your life as a musician. I'll create this for you. Oliver loves that.
Which fluctuates day to day. So it's like
Yes.
that, even that is like not enough.
It's like you can never be sure you're going to be in this place in Oliver's heart and in his pecking order. And am I right that he didn't really have a family, Oliver?
Yeah, Matthew's like filming Oliver and Matthew's like, what about your mom? And then Oliver very mysteriously, we never get answers.
Doesn't answer, right? I thought that was what a good part of the film.
It's smart, yeah, because that's enough information in of itself that he doesn't want to talk about.
It like justifies, it does not make it right, but it explains why he does that with relationships.
Yes.
Like I was like, oh, I understand this person.
Yeah.
So then Matthew's buddy from the store, he invites him along. And of course, it's like, and he's a designer, a fashion designer. And so everyone starts to fawn on this new guy who can do really cool outfits for everybody, make them sweaters or something like that. Yeah. And Matthew's like, oh, damn, like I brought in my replacement basically. And then they all go to London together. And he finds out that you need a passport or a visa.
You need a work visa if you're going to say that because Oliver's there like on business, he's performing.
But yeah, so then he purposely doesn't tell his friend this. So his friend almost gets deported or taken away, but still manages somehow to get back with the group. And then they're doing this album cover photo shoot.
Great. Upsetting scene.
So upsetting. Matthew's in charge of doing a terrible job. The other guys making suggestions that they like.
Somehow Matthew's worked his way up to be doing the album cover. Like that's not something you just, you don't meet someone like a month ago and be like, hey, you don't have any background in photography. Do you want to take a picture for the cover of my album? Which
it's crazy.
It's more so that Matthew's like doing it from his viewpoint.
The framing.
Right? And they're all observing it. And Oliver, from my point of view, seemed to genuinely be disappointed.
Yeah, I think so.
And then out of the blue asks Matthew's sweater friend to start taking pictures.
But yes, so basically, you don't even see it happen. Sonny, sweater friend, is on top of a ladder. And the camera does not let you see Matthew do this, but you know he did it. He hits the ladder and the guy falls and hurts himself, right?
Yeah, and that's like when the whole group realizes how much of a dangerous asset Matthew is.
Exactly.
And then we cut to the next scene. It's morning. And Matthew wakes up, realizes everybody's left him and flown home without him.
Yes. And then he gets kicked out of the house. When he gets home, he tries to go in the house and they won't let him in.
It seems like Matthew's kind of like lying to himself, like still wanting to be part of the circle. And Shay's like, you just need to like chill. And Matthew's like, where's Oliver? And she's like, he's in his room.
Okay.
And then gets to the bedroom. Oliver opens the door. His like shirt's like half opened and there's a girl and a guy in the background.
Oh, I forgot about that.
And Oliver's like, hey man, like you need help. And Matthew's like, yeah, I do need help. And he grabs onto Oliver's necklace.
Yes.
And then Oliver's like, no, like pushes him away and slams the door on him. And I think that's when Matthew finally accepts. Well, he does not accept.
He has to accept it in this moment.
Yes.
Okay, so earlier in the movie, he's a documentarian. He puts cameras everywhere. I don't think he tells anybody he's doing that, but he wanted to capture moments of Oliver's life to use as B-roll or whatever, organic scenes, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
He gets these girls backstage passes, knowing that they're going to hook up with Oliver, and then he has it filmed, and because it's filmed, he can now use it as blackmail. And my problem is like, I just like don't love the idea of like, I know these girls seemed like into it, like they were consenting.
Matthew actually like drugs their drinks.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yes. And I did forget about that because it infuriated me.
And I think like the music is like swelling and it shows the girls stumbling down a hallway. I think it's implied. I don't think it's shown that Oliver is sexually assaulted.
Yeah, well, that is assault then, for sure.
Yeah.
And then Oliver. Now, I know he's got a lot to lose. Okay, right? But it never occurs to him that he can actually say to Matthew, well, no, I'm going to face the consequences. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like Matthew has all this power over him, but if Oliver was a good person, then maybe not. You know what I mean? Like, he could have, do you know?
I do know. I know what you're saying.
It just annoyed me that they just pretended that was like, we're just going to baseline pretend that this was, oh no, I'm in a horrible predicament. And so like the story of assault is just about these two men, you know, and not about what actually happened to these girls. And that annoyed me.
The movie wasn't set up in a way to like resolve that. And so I think to your point about choosing a different plot element instead of
that.
It's such an tense, gross thing that now it's like I have to watch these two gross people for different reasons.
Yes. And the whole power struggle for me falls apart where I'm like, wait a second, this doesn't have to be this way if one of them was a good guy. You know what I mean? There's like, I did something really bad. I need to be honest. Or, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
having two people with like negative traits go at it. Like
you're right.
I wouldn't fault it for that.
Yes, our characters can be bad people.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't want to argue for a world where characters have to be good.
Yeah.
Maybe just pick a different scandal, you know?
Yeah. Long story short, why we had such a hard time talking about the Q&A that happens at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Is because this movie is so, I really do think like masterfully, it's like a Jenga thing. You know, you want to pull one thing out to just talk about this one thing. Well, it's like the whole thing's going to collapse unless you like take every piece out to explain it, which I think is why it's such a good story. It's like you need all these pieces. Yes, some pieces could be replaced with other things, but you still need like it's an
intricately constructed something.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you about Alex Russell, who directed and wrote this movie. And it's somebody we're familiar with their work because he wrote for The Bear, writing our most favorite episode, Forks.
On the blueprint that you wrote for this episode, you wrote an exclamation point after Forks. Is the episode? Is that the one with Jamie Lee Curtis? Is that the Christmas episode?
Well, you know what? You're making me realize that it's not. I was thinking it was the Merry Christmas episode, but actually it is the true best episode. It's the one shortly thereafter where Cousin kind of steps into his own and goes to that restaurant. Coleman? Yes. That's an amazing episode of TV. That is something to put on the TV when you feel sad and you're hopeless and you're like, no, it's not over till it's over.
Yeah.
I can still become someone. But yeah, the fact that he wrote for The Bear and Beef, obviously he's a very talented writer. He's from Chicago. He was an engineering student and he taught himself screenwriting by reverse engineering films that he loved, like Legally Blonde. But from there, it gets a little bit strange. Like he lived in a lot of different cities. He had a lot of friends in the music industry. He started saying out loud that I will be a working screenwriter. And that's, he said, when the sand started to shift. And then he had a lot of like half hours that he had written himself related to the music industry, which is how he got hired on a show called Dave. I've seen that show. I can kind of see the connective tissue between that and this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just something about that origin story. It's a little bit like, I feel like there's some missing pieces.
About his background?
Well, yeah, it's like, I mean, I know he was coming up, if he was working on Dave, he was coming up when TV was at its high point and there's like a lot of opportunity. But I just feel like just because you say out loud you want to be a screenwriter, you know, doesn't mean, I don't know. I don't think that's the magic sauce. I feel like there was more that I want to know more about how he kind of got to where he is and what's his connection to the music industry. That part confuses me too.
Yeah. After the first time I saw this movie, they did a Q&A with Alex Russell and the actor who plays Sweat. And like Alex starts talking and he just came off as like super arrogant to me. As a few more questions came out, I realized he actually has like an incredibly dry sense of humor.
I gotcha.
There's a line that pops out in the movie where someone points out to Sweat, they're like, hey, like, aren't you 34? What are you doing hanging out with all these guys? Then come to find out Alex Russell's actually 34, and he gives some background, is he wrote this movie during the pandemic, which was like, he would have been 29, 30. And he actually, during the pandemic, he'd go on walks with Zach Fox around the neighborhood discussing the movie and wanted Zach to be in the movie. But then by the time that it came for the movie to be made, he felt that they like all had aged out.
Yeah.
It was interesting to hear about his own anxieties and self-consciousness about aging. But because he loves Zach Fox so much, he still put him in the movie in the same role. So in the end, I thought it was sweet. But yeah, I had a negative reaction to Alex, but then I actually, over the course of the Q&A, I grew to like him more.
I mean, that's interesting.
And one of the most daring and unhinged moments of the whole Q&A is they opened the questions up to the audience.
Ooh.
And this one guy, I forget how he phrased it, but basically kind of attacked Alex and was like, is the reason you were able to write Michael Morning's character so well is because you yourself identify with what he went through? And there was like the entire movie theater went dead silent.
Interesting. I'm surprised that the question felt so, I mean, maybe it was the tone it was asked in or the way it was asked, but I feel like that is the answer right there, right? It's like we all, a lot of us working in entertainment or in other fields too, it's like we want to have star power. We want to feel like we're going after this big dream
to make something of yourself.
Yes, and that part, like I feel like he could have answered in a way being like, well, there's a piece of me in this guy, like I'm sure there is for a lot of people.
Honestly,
then,
I wish I could find the interview because I think he might have used some of that exact phrasing that you just said.
And yeah, I mean, it's funny that you said that about him coming off as arrogant and then growing to like him, because I kind of felt the same way in just reading about him. Like I was annoyed by how like vague the background was and how it seemed like he kind of wanted to imply he just sort of like by the grit of his teeth like became a screamer. I'm like, no, like there's got to be more to the story here. You know what I mean? I don't know. But then as I kept reading different things about him, I was more endeared. Like I read that the guy who plays Oliver, Archie Madekwe, I think, he originally had before or maybe during the pandemic had auditioned for Matthew's character. And then he actually was like, you should go out for Oliver. Somebody said that to him. I don't know who it was, maybe his team or someone in the production. And he's like, I don't know if I'm cool enough to do that. Like, I don't know if I'm cool enough. Like, I don't know if I can pull it off. And apparently Alex was like, don't worry, I know you're cool enough because I decided to like go to a grocery store or go to a coffee shop where you were hanging out and just watch you. And I could tell that you have the right vibe.
Oh my gosh.
And then both that's like so creepy. Yes. It's exactly like the movie, but also it was so endearing. It was like, oh man, this like is like a true crazy artist. You know what I mean? And I don't know, something about that made me, I don't know, it made me like him more. But I did have another question for you about music.
Yeah.
Alex Russell, a lot of his friends are musicians. I think a couple of them were actually in the movie. But he kept saying things like, this is very true of what the music industry is like, and it's very true of like what it's like to be in LA in these groups of people who are creative. And he kept saying like this is like a grounded story. And I don't know. What do you think about that?
I wouldn't say I'm saying I think that a lot of people have this experience, but I would not say it's grounded at all. They like live in a house commune and like worship Oliver as a god. They're like fighting over his attention. He's saying he sees them as family, but they're like his employees. So it's all very muddled. Yeah.
I guess so. Yeah. And I don't know. And then he was saying like the production, like actually making the movie was very fun, like it is for them in the movie in the beginning. And I'm like, was that fun? Like to me, if I had to live with somebody and like do their dishes, that sounds not fun.
I would hate to be in this environment, like to not know what my specific roles are. Even like Sweat and his friend who are like watching TV all day. I'd be so like on edge.
Same.
Like, what are my hours? Like, am I going to be working? Like,
when am I off the clock?
Yeah, am I working 9 to 6? Am I working from 8 p.m. to 3 a.m.? Like, I don't know. Like, yeah, it's so interesting how quickly like Matthew becomes absorbed in Oliver's orbit.
And it's connected to something else I was going to say to you, which is that Alex Russell has become friends with James Sweeney, who directed Twinless, because both of the films premiered at Sundance, and they're both about obsessive weirdos, basically, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And I guess it goes back to maybe Alex is right. Like he was saying that these groups form in LA, right? Like of like creators coming up together. And maybe I'm just a little bitter. I'm like, well, where's my group of creators coming up together? That's not my experience. But I guess why didn't I find some cool directors who wanted to hang out with me?
We had our chance. We saw them at the grocery store.
We should have run over. We should have been like the guy in Twinless or the guy in Lurker and just forced our way in.
Oh my gosh. I just remembered this. In the beginning of the movie, when Matthew Morning first comes to the house, the guy who plays the documentarian is the director of Dee Dee, who's Russell's friend.
Okay, that is so trippy. I guess like him, James Sweeney, and the director of Dee Dee are just all buds. That's awesome. Which I think brings us to, if we may now, you know, at this point in time in our Queer Cinema Catch-Up podcast, talk a little bit about the queer desire element of the film. You pointed out the necklace scene. And then I would say there's one more scene that I remember. The wrestling scene where basically Oliver sneaks into Matthew's room at night. Is Oliver in the room or not? Is he sleeping or is he out of the room?
Matthew's asleep on the bed.
Okay.
Well, he was asleep, but then wakes up to Oliver tiptoeing into the room.
Yes. It becomes the situation where it seems like maybe they're going to hook up, but then instead they begin to wrestle. Was that an accurate description?
Yes. During the real life Q&A that I witnessed, Alex, in the original scripts that he sent out to the actors before they filmed it, it was just one line of dialogue, and then they wrestled. It was just one line. But then when it came to film the movie, he removed that line. I forget what he was going to have happen differently. And Archie and Theodore, like, they're like, where the hell's the wrestling scene? Like, I feel like they like wanted that back in there. So I can't imagine the movie without that scene.
I agree. How do you interpret it?
I feel like I have the benefit of hearing Alex speak
I
more
also
too.
have a quote from him about it. You should say your thing first.
So Oliver walks to the room with the idea that he's going to sneak in there while Matthew's asleep, steal the hard drive, thus collecting the evidence, freeing himself. He can kick Matthew out. Walks in. Matthew wakes up. He's caught like, what are you doing in here? And it's still like an opportunity like Oliver can lie. And then, so I think plugging into the fact that Matthew tried to seduce him or hook up with him in that one scene, I think then Oliver plugged into, oh, maybe he's into me physically.
Maybe that's what he wants.
So he sits down and just is very like leaning into Matthew, very much like about to kiss him. And my assumptions going to this movie, I thought it was going to be like some type of like queer romance. I don't know what made me think that, but that's what I thought. So I was like, oh, here we go. Like, I didn't realize it's going to be under these circumstances, but they're finally going to make out. But no, it gets really fucking weird. And so I feel like in a really good way is then as like Oliver's like literally about to press his lips up like against Matthew, Matthew's like, let's wrestle. And he just like grabs onto Oliver, and Oliver's like trying to like fight. He's like, what the fuck? Like, what? They're like fighting.
I was so creeped out.
And Matthew's just like, he's like laughing maniacally.
It was so scary. You're making me remember.
They like roll off the bed, and like Oliver, like at first, like Matthew's like straddling like Oliver, like trying to like slap him. And like still this whole time I was like, is this sexual? Is this like physical? Like what's going on? Like I was just so confused in the way that I think the director wanted us to be confused. Yeah. And then Oliver like ends up grabbing Matthew, flips him over, and is able to pin Matthew. And while Matthew's still maniacally laughing. And like, I saw that scene, I was like so disturbed by it. But like Alex's, which I'm sure the quote is what you pulled, is like, although Oliver was able to physically overthrow Matthew and like come out like on top.
Yeah.
Matthew had all the power. Yes, he still had all the power. Yes. So it's like the dark side of it all. Even if Oliver tries to like seduce him or whatever, like it's not going to work. Like Matthew is winning. He has all the power. He has all the control.
So that is basically, and actually I missed, this is a quote from Theodore Pellerin, who played Matthew, but he talks about what Alex said. And so this is the question. It's in Them magazine. Matthew isn't really written as queer, and yet his relationship with Oliver has these distinctly homoerotic undertones. There are several charged moments in particular, like when Matthew seductively grabs Oliver's chain after feeling rejected by him, or that entire impromptu wrestling match after Matthew finds Oliver creeping around his bedroom. When you were first reading the script, did you pick up on any of these elements? And Theodore said, for sure. I think Alex answered that question very well recently. He said that in both instances, it's one offering himself sexually or physically to the other in a way that's like, is this what you want? Matthew would always be willing to do it if it's what needed to happen. Yes. So when he's been thrown out, he's like, will this save me? It's the same thing when Oliver offers himself. He's like, is this the thing you want? Will this put me to safety with his footage and this blackmail situation? I don't think it's revealing the true undercurrent of their dynamic. It becomes an offering.
Yes.
But I think there's real pleasure when Oliver offers himself to Matthew because he's thinking it's great to have so much power over him that he'd come into my room offering himself in this way.
Right.
I see the moment when he's like, let's wrestle, as similar to when a dog greets someone by the door and is so excited they have to display it by biting a shoe. Matthew is just so excited to have all that power. And there's also this desire to act on that physical closeness.
Yeah.
And I think it's like interesting too from like a queer perspective of like, okay, so there's sex and there's love and relationships. And with sex, there is like a power dynamic at play. And who has the power? Do you want someone? Do you want to be them? I don't know. It's like there's all these like weird elements to it that have nothing to do with like truly seeing another person and desiring them.
Well, I just think the allure of fame, of stardom, of validation, of attention is very intoxicating. And I'm sure there's a lot of people as dark as that is in like the entertainment and the music industry that will do things beyond what they want or desire. They're acting in a way different than how they would normally behave to work their way up the
for power
for
and
for
validation,
power and validation
and to be seen and perceived. Yeah. But yeah, I thought that was like the dog quote really got me. I was like, okay, yeah. It's like, who's the dominant one? Ooh, it's like, it is a really dark and good movie.
Dark and deep.
Yeah.
I also feel like the movie and the writing was really smart in the building of the story is early on too, when like Matthew is really like low in the ranks and is just like picking up trash and cleaning the house, and Sweat and his friend are like hanging out. Matthew looks to them and he's like, hey, when's Ollie going to be back? When's Ollie going to be back? And like Sweat's like, Ollie, you sound like one of like Oliver's lovers, essentially, like one of the women he sleeps with. So like early on, it's like planted the whole concept of like groupies and like people sleeping with, especially like rock stars.
You're reminding me that Alex Russell said the more heartfelt, feel-good version of this movie is Almost Famous.
Okay. Which I have never seen, actually. I need to see that.
But basically, it's like someone young gets the opportunity to write an article for Rolling Stone and goes along with this band. And then the at the end, it's like, do they really like care about this kid, or are they going to like kick him to the curb when it's done? And then they do genuinely care. Whereas like in this movie, it's kind of the opposite, where there is no genuine care. It's all about how can I use my relationships to have power and get what I want and need, and not about the other people genuinely.
Yeah.
So,
which it's so interesting because the character of Shay seems grounded and to have some like emotional empathy for those around her. She's kind of like the moral compass. And yeah, once the whole shit goes down, she's gone. The moral compass is gone. But like the one person who was like keeping him at least somewhat morally tethered is out of his life. And again, it's a long-winded way to we finally get to the recording studio, if that's the next part we want to get to. And I actually interpreted this studio scene in two different ways. Matthew like walks into the recording booth and Oliver says like, do you like my music? And then Matthew looks at Oliver and is like, do you like your music? And he's like, for a long time, you've been out of touch on like the music that makes you, that makes you unique, that like will grow you as an artist to become this huge The Weeknd type celebrity musician. And it really affects Oliver. And he like begins like tearing up. And I think it like works on multiple levels. On one level, maybe because he feels what Matthew is saying is true. On another level, maybe he's really hurt by what Matthew is saying, because Matthew is saying that Oliver surrounded himself with a bunch of yes men. And that Matthew is the one person who will actually tell him the truth. But it's really dark because Matthew's also the one who has all the power, all the control, and is manipulating the whole situation.
The quote I have is, everyone around you is the same as me, is the quote I have, which is Matthew's quote.
Oh, that's a great line. But the cherry on top of that quote is really, he says, everyone in here wants the same thing as me.
Yeah.
I just want it the most.
Yes.
Which was such a good line.
My gosh.
Then it leads into Oliver singing. Then it cuts to the next scene of the music video being filmed of Oliver on a psych wall. And all of a sudden, into his beautiful sweater, paintballs start like shooting into him. And it's like beautiful slow motion. But you're like, oh, he's being shot with paintballs. Like, what's going on? The music's like you're in the mindset of like watching the music video. And then it gets like really, really close in on Oliver's face. And he seems to be really like kind of like emotionally like feeling what he's singing about. And then it's like cut. And it turns out Matthew's directing this music video.
Yes.
Now we've switched perspective and we're watching it from the outside of all the people holding up their paintball guns pointed at Oliver. And we're having to watch the real take of Oliver try to sing this song while like literal like paintballs are being like shot at him, and you're like hearing the noises, and in zooming in on his face, you see like he wasn't feeling the emotions of his lyrics, or maybe he was, but he was like literally like emotionally and physically being assaulted by these paintballs designed by what you assume is like Matthew's idea to film this music video.
Torturing him. But also creating great art. You know what I mean? Well, that was the part where you're like, oh, this is good.
But Oliver doesn't realize that during filming. We get to the bus scene. It's night. Everyone's sleeping. Matthew gets yanked from his
camper sleeper bed
and starts getting like beat up. Oliver comes to the front of the bus, and Matthew, with like blood dripping down his face, looks up at Oliver and says, "You changed my life. You changed my life." And it's like the same kind of like lies that Matthew's been saying all throughout this movie. And also like the fake stuff that all of his friends say to his face. And like Oliver's just like so disgusted by Matthew, and he rushes to the back of the trailer and pulls up his laptop. I don't know what his plan was, but he comes across the music video that was just shot and plays it back and like realizes like, holy shit, this is really good.
Okay.
This is really good. I need to keep Matthew in my life because he actually is helping me create amazing art.
So at the very end, it ends with them at a Q&A for the documentary that Matthew made. And I just like had this vision of Matthew as not being a very impressive, like he's good at manipulation, but I didn't really think that what he was doing was any good, like his documentary. And so I kind of assumed it was like a fantasy, or either it was a fantasy sequence or it was like we've been misinterpreting the movie the whole time, and that maybe Matthew's actually this documentarian and this is like a fictional movie he's made. I don't really know, but I kind of didn't think that the ending was supposed to be real.
That's an interesting point. I think it could definitely work in that way. The only reason why I didn't feel that way, that moment where Oliver sees the laptop and like connects with it and sees it, I genuinely believe that he thinks that Matthew could help him rise to greatness.
I just like there was something about how maybe it's like they didn't look any older.
Yeah.
Like there was something about like that, the way it felt confusing.
It's confusing. And the fact that like we talk about Shay like disappears from his life. All these people that were big in Oliver's life are now sitting in the audience.
Almost like the end of Chicago, you know, like what
There's definitely some meta. It's a Q&A. It becomes meta. Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But I didn't mind it being.
No, it didn't bother me. I just was like,
sorry. And also,
I was like, oh.
Fun fact, the last person who asks a question in the Q&A is the actor from my thesis film, Misalignment.
What?
Yes.
No. How did I not? How many times did I see Misalignment I didn't notice?
They have a different hairstyle. They change their hairstyle a lot in all the projects they're in. So
awesome. But yes, I feel like the movie is very deep, but also entertaining. But it does. You know what? It does leave you with a bad feeling. Like there is something like unsettling and disturbing about what you're seeing, and you do recognize you're not to that extreme, but you do recognize yourself in your ambitions. Yeah. You know. Like, because Oliver, he is an artist, he's a singer, as like a writer, it's like, I see that more, like I want to separate that from the economic or like ambitious, do you know what I'm saying? But like really it's not, it's like connected and it makes it feel like baser and grosser. Yeah, so I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Whoa.
A question for you. If Oliver had never met Matthew, do you think that Oliver still would have achieved the same amount of success that's implied at the end of the movie?
No, because I do think, I don't know. I guess I'm going to take this into a very metaphorical place where maybe Matthew isn't a real person at all. And it's like,
I can see that.
To be successful as an artist on that level, you need to have the drive and the resistance, like the struggle to get there. I don't know if that's true, but like I think that's like a story we like to hear, that you had to overcome all these obstacles to get where you are. And yeah, so I'm going to go with no. Also because he didn't seem, I don't know, I saw that first music video and that was ridiculous. So, you know.
But I mean, it was also Matthew's idea to film it from the perspective of a sheep.
Yes. Like the push-pull between, if you're an artist and you're writing about yourself or your experiences, you need to have a sense of how those experiences are going to be perceived by others. And then you need to have a reaction to that perception and a reaction to that perception. And so there's something about, that's what I think Matthew represents, like the eternal eternal feedback loop.
Yeah. Well, and also, so it's like when a person reaches a level of success, I think that in a lot of cases, people feel called to write, direct, be involved in some creative way because there's something they're upset about within their own life, or there's something that they want to explore in their own life, and they're like motivated by this hunger. Whereas like once you achieve success and that hunger is satisfied, I feel like you still have more hunger, but then you're with success comes riches, comes like comfort, and it's harder to dip into those like darker parts of yourself. And you become like surrounded by yes men. And so it's like great art comes from what's trying times or times of dark moments. Not in every case, but in a lot of situations. Often. And because Oliver was like surrounded by yes men, had money, like he wasn't like, that hunger wasn't there. Like because it's really something fucked up like Matthew coming into his life. And yes, it could be metaphorical for something like, for something else happening, you know, it doesn't have
like the trials and tribulations of fame becoming the thing that your art is about. And I think like with Taylor, that's a great example. Like she has this ability to write, right? And like is doing it. And then later on as an adult, mostly I think a lot of her work is really about fame and like her experience as a famous person. Because she can't touch the rest of our lives anymore. Because you got everything, you know what I mean? You're too rich. You got everything you got. You don't need, I think what you're saying is exactly right.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And then Matthew is a character who I think at the beginning of the movie is seen as possibly sympathetic, and we kind of side with him. But then throughout the movie, we realize he's actually kind of an evil character. And I compiled a fun little list of people with similar
traits.
Like Oliver Quick from Saltburn is someone at the beginning who's presented very sympathetically, but then he actually seems to be this evil mastermind. I'm not saying that all these people are the same in that they are like evil in the end, but so I feel like another person in the movie Pearl from Pearl, I feel like it's someone else who you very like feel bad for, and
it is exactly like
and
Pearl.
the writing's on the wall. Like you kind of know something fucked up's going to happen because you're coming from the movie X, where it's like this is Pearl's backstory. So obviously to get to where she was at X, some shit had to go down. But yeah, she's at the beginning. She's like has her eyes set on becoming like a Hollywood starlet. She's manipulated, betrayed, abandoned. Feels like she has to take things into her own hand to climb her way to the top. And then this is where it gets dicey. Cassie from Promising Young Woman. Would you also loop her into this?
No, because I think you know in the beginning that she's out for revenge. Yeah, I think for her, to me, it's like she's the same. Like, I don't think she changes.
But then there is kind of a journey throughout the movie where it changes where like Molly Shannon pops up and is like, when are you going to stop seeking revenge? Like all you're doing is hurting yourself. And then so I think something changes and you think that she's going to like flip over and be like, you know what? Like I can't be I can't hold on to this grudge forever. Only in the end to like go through with her plans. You're right though. I agree with you. I don't think
it's a little different.
Yeah, I agree.
But I see what you're saying. It is playing with that same like matter, that same idea of perception.
Yeah. Maybe, and then what do you think about, which I forgot this movie even existed, which our listeners might be upset.
Wait, give me a clue. Let me guess.
Orchestra.
Whiplash.
No.
Orchestra? I don't know what.
Tar.
Oh, of course.
Lydia Tarr is like this, like very, like she, at the beginning of the movie, she's presented in this way. She's very like, the way she presents herself, how she carries, she's very successful, like achieved all this stuff. But then as the movie goes on, it's revealed
that one, I will go with yes for that one.
But it's
in a slightly different way.
It's different too. Like I feel like
yes.
So far in all the examples that I presented, I feel like Oliver from Saltburn is the closest to Lurker.
Yes, I think so. I think it's telling the same kind of story, right?
Yeah.
I think like Ingrid Goes West, that's one that I think is similar.
Which I haven't seen that one.
It's very good, but it's the same kind of concept where someone who's kind of sympathetic, lonely, but also is creepy.
But can I end on a really fun one?
Oh, yes.
Could we put Megan, the android from the movie Megan, in this category as a robot who is sent to care for a child, only to have her
yeah. Okay, sure. I'll give you it.
To become a literal violent person who will do anything to protect the child.
But I'm going to argue that with all of these, including Lurker, including Saltburn, including Megan, maybe especially Megan, the problem is we are so inundated with story. And we see trailers all the time. It's like, I never entered any of those movies. Like, I knew Lurker was I didn't even see a trailer for Lurker. I knew this guy was going to be crazy.
I didn't realize Matthew was going to make Oliver his target. I thought that Matthew would always target people like Jamie, who would target the editor. He'd wedge himself off, and it would never. Oliver would never realize it. But I was surprised that Matthew wants to be he didn't want to be in Oliver's good graces. He wanted to be at the top. So that's what I was surprised by.
I suppose I was surprised by that too. Okay, yeah, I take it back. All right.
The things we will do to get ahead.
To stay on top.
And when I say we, I mean the more connected as a whole.
The people who would have seen James Sweeney in the grocery store and wormed their way into his good graces.
This has been our episode on Lurker. What a return. Clearly
meant to be.
I'm Joe.
I'm Allison.
Thank you for listening. And please like, subscribe, comment, engage.
Send me emails at queercinemacatchup@gmail.com.
It's not like, guys, like the email is always available. Please.
It's just send me your thoughts. Send me your suggestions. And if you already done it, thank you so much. You don't know how much I appreciate.
We'll see you either maybe on a Monday. We'll see you in 2 weeks from now when our next episode on the podcast comes out. Or if you want to dip back in and watch previous episodes, please
check them out.
Go ahead and do so.
They're back there.
Yeah. Come on. All right.
Bye. Goodbye.